If you have a low muscle tone baby, sometimes called floppy baby syndrome, you may notice that during sitting, your baby's body seems to collapse and you feel like you're constantly having to hold your baby up. Your baby has this kind of slippery feeling, like you feel like you might drop them at any moment, and you need to hold on to your baby with both hands and kind of hold them kind of tightly to hold them up. Low muscle tone and muscle weakness are not exactly the same thing. So simply trying to make your baby stronger may not be enough. In this video, I'm going to share with you physical therapy exercises that I use to help babies with low muscle tone build better stability, activate their muscles against gravity, and most importantly, learn to do more of the movement themselves. And just to be clear, low muscle tone or hypotonia isn't a diagnosis by itself. There can be many reasons a baby has low muscle tone. So if you're concerned about your baby's muscle tone or development, I want you to talk to your pediatrician. The way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to take you through a series of exercises starting with some of the lower milestones and going higher and higher, so that depending on where your baby is, your baby can benefit from exercises at a particular stage of development that your baby is at. If you want to keep track of where your baby is developmentally, I created a free baby milestone checklist that covers the milestones your baby should be hitting from 0 to 12 months. I'm going to put the link in the description down below. Click it, download it, print it, put it on your refrigerator, and you can have it there as a reference to be able to keep track of where your baby should be from month to month and know when, if your baby's on track, and when to reach out for some additional help. Now, if you want me to make an additional video for a baby at a specific age, let's say your baby has low muscle tone at 6 months or low muscle tone at 12 months, and you want me to make a specific video for you, then drop a comment down below and tell me your baby's age, and ask me to make a video with specific exercises geared more towards your baby's specific age, and I'll be happy to do it. Bernard said, it would be helpful if you used babies that had actual hypotonia in your demonstrations. Okay, so you asked, and I'm going to respond. Here is your video, starting with this exercise. Grab your baby, get down on the ground, and let's get into it. A lot of babies with low muscle tone struggle with some basic things like tummy time. They don't like being on their tummy because that's a lot of work for baby to hold their head up. So what I'm doing with this little one here, you can see I'm using two props. I have him on a cushion so that his head is a little bit higher than his lower body. And I am trying to get him to prop himself up on his forearms on the pillow, but I'm also using a mirror to cue him to lift his head up and look at himself in the mirror and engage with himself in the mirror. Now you can see that he is already fussing, and just pay attention to how short a session that was and how quickly it took him to start getting fussy, and so I took him out of the position. The important thing to realize with a lot of these babies is I want you to do short bouts of work. One of the recurring themes that you're going to hear throughout this video is going to be that I want you to put baby in a position to work, to succeed, but I don't want you doing the work for your baby. I want baby to do the work themselves. So notice what I'm doing here. I have the toy over baby's head. I rolled him onto his side, and I use his legs as leverage to bring his legs over. I rolled him all the way onto his side. I brought one leg over, brought that top leg over, and only thing I wanted him to be able to do is to lift that neck up and look for the block and try to reach for the block as he is bringing his head up. Now you can see he really did not do too much, but over time I'm going to be looking to see, can he do more of that on his own and actually be able to try to roll over. At this point I was just happy that he was able to tolerate being on his tummy, because he did not like tummy time too much. Here is another little one that has low muscle tone. Notice I assist him. I bring that leg over and I put the toy up above his head so that he can use his head as a little bit of leverage and be able to cheat a little bit while he's reaching for the toy. And notice what I did. I just left him alone and let him do his work, and he was able to complete it. And then I brought him back and repeat the activity. And again, he started to get just a tiny little bit better. And of course, what we do to one side, we want to do it in the opposite direction. So I would encourage you to put him on his opposite side to see if he can roll over in that direction and be able to do it again. Let's see if he was able to execute. Again, I put him on his back, let him complete the roll on his own, and that was pretty well done. And so now I'm shifting him. I move the toy over in the opposite direction, put him up back on his back, and have the toy positioned above his head. And now I'm going to try to get him to see if he'll be able to execute the roll going towards his left side of his body. We want to shoot for symmetry and have baby, whatever baby is able to do in one direction, to have baby be able to do that in the opposite direction. I have him with one leg over the other on his side. He's just choosing to play on his side. And I've noticed that he is struggling a little bit with that left side. So obviously we need a little bit more work with the left side. A baby who has low muscle tone or hypotonia will typically slump forward when you try to put baby to sit. So we can usually start right where baby is and just put baby in the seated position and let baby start putting their hands down on the ground and do what's called propped sitting, where you're trying again to get baby to push up against gravity. So you want to work on those fingers, get those fingers nice and flat, and just position baby and see if baby can do some of the work themselves and continue to get stronger and stronger. You notice what I'm doing with my thumbs. I'm giving baby a little poke in the back on either side of baby's spine to try to bring that trunk upright and get baby to lift that head up and start sitting in more of an upright position. And this takes a lot of manual work on your part. And I want you to sit on the ground, get your baby's toys out, put in the work to get baby to start controlling their body. Babies with low muscle tone typically have a more challenging time firing their muscles and getting their muscles to engage and start to be able to harness their energy and start to control their muscles. And so sometimes it seems like you're doing a lot of work and baby is not responding. But you can see baby is responding. It takes a little bit of time. Go from giving baby little pokes in the back to doing some downward pressure on baby's shoulders. This will cause the muscles in the front of baby's trunk to activate as well as the muscles in baby's back at the same time. Another little sneaky technique that you can do is give baby your fingers to hold on to and cue baby to do kind of a seated baby push-up where baby's just going to push off of your hands. Notice the way he's leaning forward and wait for it. He's going to push his body against my hands, my fingers just a little bit. There he did a small one. Every little bit counts, and we're going to continue to build on these strengthening techniques, having baby working against resistance, getting those gross motor muscles, those big muscles to start activating and start firing. So move from one technique to the next as you're working with your little one on the floor, as long as baby is tolerating it and baby is not getting upset. As we move through our sitting progression, I want you to start trying to give your baby much more responsibility for their own body in space and having much more of a hands-off type of approach where I have him sitting. I'm letting his body toggle side to side. I'm letting him put his hands down on the toy and be able to prop himself up and hold his own body upright in space. If your baby is tipping towards one side, rather than catching your baby, try to put your hand on the opposite leg as baby leans in one direction. Put your hand on baby's opposite hip or baby's opposite leg to catch him and let him activate the muscles on that side of his body to bring his trunk more upright. If I've not introduced you to this little one, his name is Baby T. And what I'm trying to do in this exercise is to get him to just bear some weight on his hands and push his face up off the ground, do essentially like a little mini baby. And I have him over my leg. I'm using my leg as a fulcrum to cue him to spread his fingers flat on the ground and just bear his body weight while he is looking at the toy. You notice that move that I just did with my forearm there? I put my forearm on his bottom to push his bottom down a little bit and let him push himself up. He was starting to get tired. These babies tend to get tired pretty quickly. And so I let him put his head down, take a little break, and we got right back into it and started to continue to do his work. That was a really nice push-up. Do it on a soft surface so that in case your baby does a face plant like he does, and you can see he really wants to just stop and put his hands down and get out of the position, but I'm holding him there as long as he's not crying, he's not too angry with me. I'm willing to let him take a quick 30-second break and then get right back up into the activity. So let's move on and talk about crawling. This little one struggled with crawling and really did not like being on her hands and knees. If you notice the way she is moving, she is scooting on her bottom. She's leaning over to one side with one hand down on the ground, and this is the way she typically crawled. So I'm going to show you a little technique that I use with her to help her, to trick her into being able to crawl on her hands and knees. This is the same baby girl who was struggling with crawling. She liked to do more of butt scooting. And so what I did with her is I went out and I bought this baby tunnel, and I would just throw my blocks into the tunnel and cue her to crawl into the tunnel after the blocks. And I used this quite a bit with her, and this was how we actually did our crawling. At this point, I wanted her to crawl all the way through the tunnel, but she was trying to see if she could scoot her on her bottom in the tunnel. And of course, she couldn't do it, but she was determined to get the block. And so this was the technique that I used. A lot of times I like to crawl to the opposite end of the tunnel and stick my face in the other side of the tunnel and do some silly little peekaboo with her and cue her to be able to continue and be able to crawl all the way through. And this was the way this was a technique I used with her to get her on those hands and knees. As I mentioned earlier, the theme of this video was, or at least one of the themes was, to try to position baby in situations where baby can do their own work and baby can work against gravity. I like crawling and walking up a flight of stairs as a way of strengthening baby's legs, one leg at a time. This video was not slowed down at all during this filming. This was the actual speed that she was moving up the stairs. She was very slow and deliberate, but I let her do it at her pace and at her speed because I wanted her to do it on her own. I wanted her to do it independently. You notice the way she's planting one leg, she's taking her time, and she is going to power through that leg and push up and move to the next step with me close behind her to catch her if she lost her balance. A lot of times parents ask me, how do I get my baby to bear their body weight in standing? What can I do to strengthen baby's legs? And so one technique that I like to do is to pick up baby with their entire body weight, but let baby kind of lean forward so that baby's body weight is forward of their center of gravity and baby is kind of leaning into my hands. So you notice how quickly he went back down. He did not want to bear his body weight on his legs. He wanted no part of that. So here's another technique that I'm going to show you right now that I use in order to help a baby start bearing their body weight on their legs while still getting a little bit of support, but actually doing some work in order to make this happen. So what I'm going to do is I put him on his knees, and you can see he's trying to get out of it. He does not want to get up there on his legs. And so he wants the toy, and so I'm using the toy as a carrot, and now I position him. You can see that he is leaning forward on the couch. He's got his arms on the couch, so some of his body weight is actually on his arms, and that takes some of the weight off of his legs, and that allows me to wobble his legs side to side as he's working on maintaining his balance and just standing there, taking some of his body weight through his legs. Now, you notice the way the leg collapsed there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit behind him, scooch him up close to the couch, and I want to position his feet under his knees, and I'm going to use my thumbs in his buttocks and use my pinky fingers at his knees to straighten and bend those knees. And again, he doesn't want to do it, so I'm putting the hands on the couch to cue him and let him know that this is the way we're playing. He wants to play with the piggy, and so now he is up again. And again, I back off just a little bit and let his legs start taking some weight through, taking his body weight through his legs. Again, we're doing short bouts of work, nothing too strenuous, nothing to make baby upset. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to download the free PDF that I created. It's a baby milestone tracker that helps you track your baby's milestones from 0 to 12 months old. Click the link down below, download it, put it on your refrigerator, and you'll have it there as a reference to be able to keep track of where your baby should be from 1 month to the next. A lot of babies with low muscle tone struggle with crawling, and a lot of times they find themselves where they're scooting along the ground instead of doing a traditional hands and knees crawling. If that's your little one, take a look at this video right here where I talk about how to help your baby move from scooting on their bottom to crawling on their hands and knees. Okay? I will see you over there.